All right. So welcome, welcome. Put this good old timer on here. Welcome all. I am so excited that you all are here with us. Okay, guess it doesn't want to work. So I am Takesha Michelle, and we are here tonight talking about Let's Plant Seeding Success. I am so excited that you all are here, and we're just going to get started. And there is so much that we have to share with you tonight. I was just waiting for some more folks to come in to get this good old information, but rest assured, this virtual conference will be available on YouTube. Can everybody say YouTube? Get excited about YouTube, right? Yeah. Yeah. Yes, there you go. I love it. Thank you, Camille, for getting excited about YouTube. So we are going to go ahead and press forward. I just wanted to share some information with you all. We are Education Inside Out. Education Inside Out, you said something about a virtual conference and some parent empowerment. Well, yes, that's what we do at Education Inside Out. We help parents to ensure the success of their children. And as a result of what we do, parents and teachers are able to build better relationships, establish consistency, and maintain control at home and at school. So I wanted you all just to, hello, okay. There we go. I figured it out. So nevertheless, we're going to go ahead and press forward just beyond this. I'm going to tell you, and I don't know if y'all can hear the song that's playing. Can y'all hear the music? Not at all? Okay, that's okay. No worries. The song that I selected for tonight is Greatest Love of All, because of course it talks about, the children are our future. And it's important for parents and teachers and everybody in the world to understand that if we don't do what it is that we need to do, then the future that we hope to see will be greatly diminished if we do not prepare the children. So that's why we are here. That's why we help to empower the parents to ensure the success of the children. We ask you all questions. Therefore, the topic questions that match with our focus topics are you willing to do the work? Who or what are you committed to? And who is in control? I mean, really, I love that one, because when we talk about maintain control, we want to maintain control at home and at school, but sometimes we have to think of who's in charge in our house. But don't worry, there's some videos on YouTube that are directly related to that, and we'll talk more about it later. But today's focus topic is establish consistency. Therefore, the question is, what are you committed to? Mom, Dad, ask yourself, what am I actually committed to? And hold on to that as we press forward through this virtual conference. Now, while I am Takesha Michelle, the educator, I am Takesha Michelle, the minister and the parent, I'm all of the things that you all got to find out about me over time. The last virtual conference we did, if you were with us during our in-person conference in January. And so there's no way that I can see empowering parents without going to the word. So this scripture, which is my favorite teacher scripture, my favorite parent scripture, and it is, train up a child in the way that they should go. And when they're old, or even when they get old, depending upon the translation, they will not depart from it. That's Proverbs 22:6. Even the Bible says that we need to do this thing the right way. We have to train them up the way we want them to go, right? This verse emphasizes the importance of raising children with discipline and guidance so that they develop a strong moral character. Yeah, they have to develop it, which means we have to give it to them. And then they continue this and to live it out in their adult lives. And so today, what I'm going to do, I'm going to share this video with you that I came upon. I was like, I need to figure out a way to help parents understand that while we talk about the things that need to be addressed, I also want parents to know that, hey, you're doing a good job. And this video says why good enough parenting is great parenting. But you gotta be committed. You gotta be committed to even being good enough. So I'm going to stop sharing this for just a moment. And if you cannot hear it, hey y'all, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm sorry I missed you all. Thank you all for joining us. Hey. So I'm going to share this other video that I have for you all that I want you to see that, again, good enough parenting is still great parenting. And why? There we go, thank you. All right, very good. I'm so mildly savvy at this whole technology thing. Get excited about it for me if you like. So if you can't see my screen yet, I will show you this video. Good enough parenting is great parenting. And you can find this, it'll be on the YouTube. Don't go far. This video is about 4 minutes long, but every last bit of it is so important. And the reason I selected, again, 4 minutes, give your attention to it because it is going to be beneficial to you as well as other people who you're going to find that would benefit from it as well. Can you hear it?
Yes? It's very low.
Yeah,
exactly
all you
what
hear
the situation is.
All you hear is whispers in the background.
But it has, we can read it though.
You can read it, but I want you to be able to hear it. And there is a yes. All right. And if you cannot, I will make it stop and we will go from here. It worked before and why it's not working now. I'm apologizing. And then I'll just tell you all about it and we'll go from there. And I'll just have it in the link.
Might have expectations or hopes about different parts of becoming a parent, like the birth, or how to feed or settle our baby, or manage our daily lives. New parenthood like different from what imagined.
Sometimes we start off, it looks like it's one way and it winds up another. Anybody ever had some rough days as a new parent, or shucks, even as a parent right now? Indeed, indeed.
There's always challenges.
Always challenges. We have to take what we can get and apply it the way it works best in our household. That expectation that can get you too. That's the very powerful and helpful And this is how many people feel often, like they're drowning.
This idea comes from British pediatrician Mike. He worked with thousands of moms and babies in the 1950s, searching what was needed in order to make them happy children. Winnicott realized that parents don't need to be constantly attentive to their babies.
This is the biggest
His
part.
research showed that parents who can give sensitive care to their baby just 30% of the
30% of
time
the time. And I'm going to pull it out right there. I'm going to stop it there. 30% of the time, y'all. 30% of the time. What does that look like to you? 30% of, that's all it's asking for, is 30% of your time. And again, I asked, what are you committed to? Can anybody tell me, what do you think 30% of a day looks like for your kid, for your child, I don't know, however you say it. What does 30% look like to you? How much time do you think that is? About all those mathy people?
Well, it's roughly about 7 hours.
All right, mathy person. Right, I had to go and do calculations, but yes. Yes, that's about 7 to 7.5 hours in a day. Now, y'all tell me, with that knowledge, 7 to 7.5 hours in a day, how many of you think that you give at least that much attention to your children or your child in the run of a day? Show of hands. You can raise your digital hand or you can raise your physical hand. How many of you think that, yes, I give approximately 7 hours of attention to my child in the run of a day? Anybody? Anybody? No hands? What? No hands? Corinne, what you trying to say? I see you. What you got, Corinne?
I think I pretty much meet that because after work, I come home and I make sure I'm home before they get home.
Okay.
Because I want to be here for my kids. So I guess after school, whatever hours are left during the day, we're in the house fussing and fighting and getting things fixed. And that's, they come wired up. So
Right.
would
So you
say
got to give it to
about.
them, don't you? Right.
I would
agree.
say about, yeah.
Yeah, ish, right? Even if it's going to bed or preparing for bed. So
Yes.
that time counts too. That's still attention. Nobody
Yes.
else has anything else? Nobody else besides Corinne? I don't know. I don't remember calculating hours, but I know. Go ahead, Leo, what you got?
I think because when I get off of work, if I don't have anything else going on, I come home. One of my daughters, she runs track. My other daughter, she's a senior, so we have conversations. And then my son, like for example, I just took him to go get a haircut. So if I incorporate all that time in there, I think mostly, and then just being in the presence, because I think it's up to the person about how you define time and what you're doing. So being in the presence, or shoot her a text message throughout the day. Hey, how you doing? How's everything going? Are we talking about graduation? Talking about what school you're going to? So, I mean, I think because, like I said, after school, like she said, when I get off of work, I just basically come home. So I say yeah, close to it.
All right. What you got, Camille? I see you. What you got?
I mean, now that I sit back and I calculate from the time that I'm off of work and I get, yes, it's about 7 hours. My afternoon is dedicated to her. So.
Okay. All right. I love it. Dan, what you got?
Well, I look at it. You're going to get about 40 to 50% of my free time from the day.
Okay.
30% of the day to me is hard, especially when you have work plus you're incorporating sleep, because your 24-hour day is not, all awake and about. So you're incorporating work and sleep. So they're getting about 40 to 50% of my free time. which
Okay,
is
I'll
roughly,
take that.
which is roughly about 33% of the day. So you figure they're getting about 40% of that 33% free time.
I love it. Somebody with all these numbers and breakdown. I love it. I love it. Yes, I agree with you. And I'm gonna throw in something else if nobody else has anything to share. Oh, I see something in the chat. I don't know what people are saying. But if you even consider, oh, you're talking about the sound. Okay. If you even consider if there is more than one parent or more than one adult in the home, it doesn't necessarily have to be you. So if grandma, auntie, somebody is giving some dedicated time to your child, that's some more attention, right? And of course, if you drop them off or you took them to that thing, that's still some time, right? And I see Miss Starks, Miss Tammy is in the house. I know she's got some counselor thoughts. At least I believe she has some counselor thoughts, but maybe she'll share them later. But get excited about that. So listen, I had a conversation with a friend of mine who's going to school for mental health or something, counseling or something like that. And we began a conversation and we talked about what do children and adults look like who did not have attention at home. Have you ever seen a child who just walks up to anybody and just gives them a hug? Just anybody.
Yes, I have.
And you wonder why hey, you want to hug them, but you're like, what? Something about this? And then you think about people who you know who have a multitude of relationships. Sometimes they're not even all positive relationships. Why? What is it that they're looking for? Okay, hold on to that for a moment. We're going to keep going. That was good. I just wanted to engage in that conversation. I'm glad we were able to have that. Let's go. Oh, shucks. I'm turning slides and slides are not even visible to y'all. Hold on for just a second. Let me make it happen. There we go. There we go. All right. So I am running my show by myself and I'm okay with it. I just want y'all to know that we are going to continue to press forward. There's the rest of it. Okay, so we have talked about training up a child in the way they should go. And now what I want you all to understand is why, Takesha Michelle, did you choose Let's Plant? Seeding success. Why that? And those of you who have followed me, seen me do word for your Wednesday, there are words and words have meaning. Plant. Plant is a verb or an action word that means to put or to set in the ground for growth. We want to place, we want to do, we want to give something to that which we created and watch it grow. And then seeding, while seeding has multiple meanings, right? It's definitely a multi-meaning word, which also means to seed or to put seeds in the ground. It's also a term that's used in referring to sharing files digitally. So you can open up a file. I don't know if any of you have ever shared files at work or with your family, within the household, and you say, hey, so-and-so, I got this particular app. Here, you use it. Use this particular bit of information. You're sharing files, or hey, use this platform. And every time, what do you call Google Drive, right? You leave it open, and whatever is in there, if you give someone access to it, they can get the information from it. Your child, or even to evaluate the flow of fluid. Y'all, just think about that. You got to sometimes evaluate. You got to think about, what is it that I'm doing? What am I placing in my child? So now let me tell you, there are several different ways to plant seeds, right? And it depends on the type of plant and what it is that you are expecting to see. All of this can only come about based off of what you do, your actions, right? Your actions. Passive seeding, I don't know if y'all saw my video the other day, passive seeding, like the wind blowing or water carrying seeds throughout the land, that's passive. Nobody's actually doing something, right? It's just movement, bees, pollination, all of these things happen passively. You have no actual action. You're not actively doing anything. But intentional seeding, you intentionally seeding, identify the pot or the location, you dig the hole, you make space, you prepare the space, you measure, you gather necessary materials. You know just how much of what that you need. And then you respond to ensure the expected outcome. I got a question, and you all can respond to this. How long do I have to wait to see the results? When you all see a little while during family time, I was amazed. I thought I was just running my mouth when I started seeding. But the outcome, mind blown, right? Anybody else ever question, am I going to see, are they going to get better? Is he going to get better? Is she going to change? Anybody ever ask yourself those questions?
It all depends.
Go ahead.
It all depends on the plant and the soil.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All of it, it all depends on that. You're absolutely correct.
And the one thing that I see is, yes, planting and digging the hole, but it all goes back to one thing. Where did the seeds come from?
We're going to get there. Hold on, Dad, Dan, the dad. That's coming. Yes. Yes.
You know,
yes. Go ahead.
So,
go ahead. I'll just wait. Go ahead.
You know, it falls back to one thing: self-accountability, first of all. Second of all, it's like it says in Psalms 1. It says right here, let's see. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of scornful, but his delight is in the law of the Lord, and his law doth he meditate day and night. He shall be like the tree planted by the rivers of water, bringing forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. So that's the main thing as a parent. One, self-accountability, looking at yourself, regardless of your emotions or anything, look and say, be able to be honest with yourself. Am I doing this right or wrong? Secondly, are you standing firm? Because you have to stand firm. If you waver, you're going to be like the chaff that's in the wind. And if you're being blown around by the wind, then they're going to be blown around by the wind. You have to stand firm on what you say, regardless of what you may feel, your emotions. You have to stand firm.
I love it. I love it. Thank you.
And
Thank you. Let me go ahead. You're going to be,
yeah,
I'm going to let you share
that's
more
the main.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hold on 1 second, Dan. Let me get through this next part because that's some good stuff. But hold on, let me get to this next part because now we got these seeds you're talking about, yes, and we're talking about all of the things that we need to plant in our children, all of the things. So let me slide over to this next component that talks about education. Okay, I want you all to have some information, another reason for why it's important for you to plant and to seed success. Right now, actually over the past couple of years, statistics show that low performers or at-risk children or students, their risk of dropping out at age 15, they risk dropping out at age 15. Imagine their adulthood offers them limited access to better paying jobs or even rewarding jobs. Let's not even talk about better paying, just a job that they can enjoy. They have poor health and less social political participation. They don't even want to vote because according to them, and I've heard it multiple times, why I'm a vote? It's not for me anyway. He's not going to do it. No one's going to do anything. Why? They have a very negative outlook, right? There's a very negative outlook, especially if there is a, if they are at risk, right? So parents need to be actively involved. So the question I ask you is, what can policymakers, educators, parents, and students do to get closer to this success? Anybody have any thoughts, suggestions? What can policymakers, educators, parents, and even students do to get closer to success?
You have to instill in them not to accept failure.
I love it. I love it. And we're going to, what does that look like to instill in them to not accept failure? You have to be actively involved. Corinne, what do you have?
I wanted to say something I was actually discussing today.
Mhm.
And the most important thing between educators and parents is that parents show up. Show up. Show up to their school. Show up to the events. Show up when there's a problem. And that's what's been, that has been a discussion because of what's going on in the school systems now. I think we have to stop emailing, stop texting. The phone and the emails is great, right? You keep your record. But I think the biggest thing is show up.
Show up. Yes, I love it. Thank you. Yes. This next statistic, yes, I love it. Thank you. Reducing low performance improves overall performance. Reducing low performance is going to improve overall performance. So if you show up, mom, dad, grandma, auntie, whoever the caretaker is, and we begin to impact the low performance, then overall performance should begin to increase. Now, this is a lady, her name is Peggy Carr with the National Center of Education, and she says of these troubling gaps in knowledge and education, that lower performing students had deficits long before COVID. I just want to let y'all know I agree with her, and I've been saying this for the longest. These deficits did not come because of COVID, all right? COVID simply exacerbated the problem. They shone a light or increased the problem of low performing students, right? This has been going on for a very long time and we continue to be reactive. But like what Corinne said, show up. And Dan said, don't accept the failure. Then we can begin to improve on some of these problems. She goes on to say that the focus should be on the whole child, not just academics. If you show up, if we are actively involved in what's happening, then we get to begin to impact that problem, right? Teachers and schools were created to teach academics and aid or assist parents in developing their children.
Well, see, another thing too is, and I think this is really the key to everything, is, like I was saying, not accepting failure, but being a support and not a weight.
Ooh,
because
what did say that again? Then being a what and not a what?
You got to be a support and not a weight.
What you say? Oh my goodness, sir! I want to delve into that. I don't have the time, but yes, you know what? Somebody write that down for me because I am going to attack that. Be a support and not a weight. You got it. Thank you, Corinne. Be a support and not await. I'm a press forward, Dan, but I'm holding on to that because I'm coming back to it. Matter of fact, I'll probably revisit it before we get done tonight. Whew, Dan, that was all right. The U.S. Secretary of Education, Miguel Cardona, is saying he's seen more stats return to pre-pandemic achievement levels on state assessments, I'm sorry. But he says, however, that the National Assessment of Educational Progress shows that there is still a large gap. No matter that, pre-pandemic. So again, if he is saying that we are returning to pre-pandemic achievement levels, but there is still a gap that we have to close this many years later, think about that. Think about that. Right? Still a gap that needs to be closed. Y'all, research also shows that students in all percentile groups, from the highest to the lowest, have declines in reading and in math. This is where Dan was just a moment ago. Everyone, y'all, everyone in the world, or at least in the education world, agrees that pre-teaching is necessary. However, the looming question is, who should do it and when? Pre-teaching, what do you mean pre-teaching, Takesha Michelle? Things that children should know before we get them. Like their phone number, their mom's name, how to spell their name, maybe. Because that can happen at home. Reading books, helping cook, counting the fruit or whatever it is that you may eat, the crackers, the animal crackers. Can y'all tell me just right quick, how many of you would venture to say, I did something to help my kids be prepared for school before they went this school year? Whether it was buying a workbook, whether it was going to the beach or to the park or wherever you went, you did something. Knowing that your child was going into whatever grade level, you did something to ensure that they were going to have some prior knowledge. You helped to pre-teach something. Yes and yes? Somebody open it up. Tell me yes and yes. No? Yes?
I did all the things. I did all
the things. There you go. Come here, I hear you all the things. Yes. Anybody else? Anybody else?
I basically always prepare them for the new year of school, and we just talk about the basics, what to expect, what to do, what not to do. We go shopping with each other. They pick their stuff. So that's important to me, to be engaged in the shopping with them and actually going out and not doing everything online. I'm not a really big online person anyway, as far as buying everything. I think our kids need to know both. It's crucial.
I love it.
So,
thank you. Yes, indeed. What you got, Dan? I see you opened up. What you got?
I think too that it's crucial that we know our children and and one thing that I see, and I had to learn this early on, is just because they came from me doesn't mean that they're like me. And it's
dropping nuggets.
You can't expect your children to think and do things the way you do, because they are their individual person. Now they might have traits of you, but they're not identical to you. So you have to look at that and learn how to utilize their strengths, because you can't force, a square peg into a round hole.
Indeed.
That's one thing that it's hard to do, because you're looking at, well, I did this, I did that, but they're not you.
Oh, that is, yes, just because you did it, now you might see a trait of you in them. That does not mean you cannot redirect it, especially if you see that thing that was like you, especially if it's something that's not so pleasant. If you see it and it's not something that you know is going to be beneficial, that's when you start actively being intentionally working to seed success. Dan, thank you. Let me press forward because Dan and I can talk apparently for a long time. Let me keep going, Dan. I love it. I love it. Let me tell you, pre-teaching, where does it begin? Who is responsible? Is there time? I mean, y'all just heard the answers to some of those questions. My apostle, Dr. Elisa Harney, says, it's not the issue, it's you. The issue is not, is pre-teaching necessary? The issue is not, is there time? The issue is whether or not you are going to actually do it. Because my question to you is, who is the gardener? Where do the seeds come from? Are your seeds viable? Do you have information worth sharing? Again, think on these things. Now,
And
go
with
ahead,
that,
what you got
with
there?
that, with that last one, you also have to not let it affect you. Even if you do have information worth sharing, are they necessarily gonna be looking for the information from you or from somebody else?
Ooh, that's the hard part, Dan, because yes, that's true. But remember, intentional.
Yeah, but that's where you also have to put, self aside, because in reality, who is the gardener? The gardener is the Lord.
I knew it.
So, if he didn't do gardening in his own hometown, sometimes you have to allow, but you have to make sure that you prepare them to seek wise counsel and to know, because if they learn how to seek the Lord and seek wise counsel, everything else will fall into place. And because especially as a parent, it's hard when, especially with dads, when you go from being super dad to super dumb within about 8 years, and then 20 years later, they realize you were super smart, but they just didn't want to admit it.
Indeed, indeed. I am excited. Dan, you are sharing the things that are ever so helpful tonight, and I'm excited about it. Oh, goodness, I did it again. I did it again. There's what I want. All right, y'all. I am excited because we have come to the part of, oh, there we go. We have come to the part of our, there it is, okay. We have come to the part of our virtual conference where it is family share time. Can somebody get excited about family share time?
Yay! Woo woo!
I see it for myself. I don't see it for everybody else. And that's making me a little bit frustrated because I made this whole good old, look, y'all look, really get excited about it. One day, somebody's going to be my assistant and they're going to do this for me. But until then, it is definitely family share time, right? Family share time. And today I get to start. So what we're going to do is we have an order, and everybody who's sharing tonight, knows the order. Y'all might not believe me if I tell you that this was already preset and so many things are happening so wonkily, but it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be just fine. There we are. There's the problem. There we go. All right. So I'm going to share. I'm going to allow my children to share. And what you all haven't seen yet is that, Bilal and Yamina, there's a whole slide that tells you who's going in which order, but my folks know the order that they're going in. And it's going to start with, it says begin with the end in mind. And you all can't see it, but that's okay. Begin with the end in mind. Takesha Michelle, what do you mean begin with the end in mind? Well, what we have today is we're starting with the oldest children, okay? And the oldest children are actually, of all those who are sharing, that is, the oldest children are my children. And so begin with the end in mind. They get the opportunity, they're going to have the opportunity to share with us. I get to listen to them talk about their mom. And Yamina was actually just on, and she had to get back to work. So you all get to just hear what she and Bilal both had to say about whether or not I actually seeded success in their lives. And can you all see that? Can y'all see them? I hope you can hear them, because I don't know what I did to change the whatever, but here we go. Are you ready? Y'all let me know if you can't hear it.
My name is Bilal Wright. I am Takesha Michelle's eldest son and graduate, still in college, class of 15. I'm currently an MA at Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and growing up with Takesha Michelle, so many stories, but there are so many positive ones. Biggest thing that I took away from my upbringing with Takesha Michelle, one thing she always stressed to me is, but thank you. You've been amazing. You've always been a great help. Everybody, I hope you enjoy. You have a great night.
I think I found the problem. I don't know how much of that you all heard, but ultimately he said that I taught him how to figure out that life was more than just what was on the chalkboard, that there were going to be experiences that he was going to come across that were going to, that he was going to have to figure out how to deal with. And he said once he figured out how to apply it to his life, he said he didn't realize that, that it was going to come up like that. And that he's grateful ultimately that he learned those lessons, and that he and my daughter both have jokes about, the different things that I've done. So I apologize if you weren't able to hear that. I've tried to turn up the volume now, and so hopefully you hear the next one. I don't, did it get better at the end? Can somebody tell me, did it get better at the end or no? Open up your mic and tell me, because the chat is not my friend right now.
Yes, it got better at the end.
Great, that means I pressed the right button, and you should be able to hear her better. All right, here we go, and here's Yamina's quickly, and I'm gonna try not to, if you can hear it, give me a thumbs up or something, and that way I can keep it moving. Here we go.
All right, hi, I don't know if you can hear me, hopefully you can. I have a very crazy busy schedule. I'm Takesha Michelle's youngest and only daughter, favorite child, Yamina, and my mom has always made sure that I committed to something and did it fully, even scripture-wise says, do all things as unto the Lord. So very religious mother, some would almost say a tiger mom, but that is what got me to where I am today, which is having 3 jobs where I can teach, where I can still perform, where I can do another passion of mine, which is coaching lacrosse. And I'm even taking my own time to learn how to play guitar. I know I'm not going to play a song, but there would just be times whenever my mom, brother, and I would all just be sitting in the car writing from every single event. And she would just like give us life lessons about how to always kind of persevere. So sorry for all the noise in the background. Like I said, very limited timing and locations that I can do stuff while also trying to go to the gym. So obviously having a healthy lifestyle is something that my mom always tried to do. There's one time she tried to make, I think, broccoli chips. She burnt them, but she attempted at making something healthy. We fasted, so eating mom's slop was ways to teach us how to endure it during times like this. Or just like how to save money, or if anything else, I'm just a frugal being altogether. But yeah, so good job, Takesha Michelle, with me, and hopefully this seed can be planted into you all and all of y'all's kids about how to teach your kids how to persevere through life and to always give things your best, even when they are not looking up. But just have faith and trust that you are doing the right thing as a parent. Love you, Mom. Bye.
All right, all right. I don't know if y'all heard any of that at all. Did y'all hear that? Wave your hand at me if you heard it. Yes and yes, no, yes. Yes, thank you, Camille. Thank you, Leo. Wonderful, yes. It was kale, by the way. I was trying to make kale chips, and it wasn't broccoli. That's how long ago it was. I was trying to make kale chips, and I did burn it. And she thinks whatever. But I'm happy that I was able to impress upon them all of the things. Apparently, at least she meal preps now, so that's a good thing. Thank you all for listening. Continuing on with, is Trinity here, Tasha?
No, ma'am.
No? Okay. All right. Good deal. Good deal. We have the adult children. And you saw Yamina was trying to get something done while being at work, one of her 3 jobs. So we're going to let Latasha go. Huh? What you got?
That's what Trinity's at.
She's at work now? Yeah. Bilal had an event also. So that's why there's the videos. So I'm glad I finally figured out how to press the right buttons. I apologize. It took me so long. I'm happy you're here. Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Now we're going to hear from Latasha, because Latasha and I don't know, well, you all don't see the slide, but the slide says, we were Girl Scouts, we are moms. Latasha was Yamina's Girl Scout leader when we moved to North Carolina, and she and I have just stayed connected all of this time. Our girls are graduated and living their best adult lives, and we are, I'm gonna let Latasha go ahead and go first, and then I'll wrap it up, and then we'll press on to our next family. Go ahead, Tosh.
Well, I mean, you kind of summed everything up. We, let's see, me and my husband, we moved to Wilmington in 2010. We tried to, before we got married, we wanted to talk about discipline and how to raise children. And we wanted to be on the same page. because he had come from a divorced mom, and my mom and dad didn't mind arguing in front of me and my siblings. So we wanted to be sure that we were on the same page bringing up our children. So we had them involved in everything that was on my Facebook page. I'm involved in everything my children does. And I became Girl Scout leader, popcorn mom, PTA member, um, in JROTC in high school, up and down the road to their colleges, just everything that they have been involved in, I was involved in. So was my husband. He worked very long hours, but he did do some sacrifices and of trying to there and be at the main events. They did Girl Scouts, they did Boy Scouts, they played every sport you can imagine. Let's see, they did well in school. I don't know. We just, I heard you guys talking about the 30%, and we made sure that we were able to give them that time with homework, eating meals together, just being a family, making memories. When we went on vacations, we made sure that one day of the vacation was educational. They didn't like it, but you know, it was eye-opening to me and Antoine because it was some things that we weren't taught in school. Um, so when they look back on it now, they appreciate it. Um, I can't tell you how many times they've opened up and shared stuff with me, and I'm thinking to myself, "Oh my goodness, I I wasn't prepared for that." Um, and now that they're now that they're adults, my daughter's 23 and my son is 22. They still share things that I have to take a. I'm glad I'm on the phone when I'm talking to them so that they can't see my face when they're telling me some of the stuff that they're telling me. We're very
I
close.
agree.
We're very close, and we're super proud of both of our children. The accomplishments that they're doing and staying focused. And mainly, I heard someone say it was maybe Takesha bring up a child, and we kept them in church. And they used to get aggravated because I was the church secretary. I cleaned the church. I sung on the choir. So they was in church every day. And so they were so happy when their grandmother would come pick them up so that they wouldn't have to go to church. And now when you hear them talk, um, you know, I'm growing more in faith. I'm fasting. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And it's, you know, that foundation that we put, we see the seeds are starting to grow. And we're so proud of Miss Trinity and Mr. AJ. We have a graduation coming up, and I'm looking forward to that. So the main thing that I would say is being on the same page has helped me and my husband have very productive children in society, and that's what we strive for, and they make us proud every day. So I know that wasn't 5 minutes, but I do apologize.
That's okay. I got you. I'm gonna go ahead and do this 1 minute that I created because I did like
Okay.
to write it down. So when people see me, they see this strong, confident woman. Maybe they even believe that I've got it all together, right? Well, what they don't know is that when I was 16, that first child you saw, that was the child that was my baby. At the age of 16, almost 17, I gave birth to the first of 2 children I'd raised out of wedlock. That was me. I had to be on welfare. I had to drop out of a pageant that I had made it into. And I was no longer to show off for the scouts, for softball. So I didn't even have those opportunities anymore. I was in a relationship with guys who treated me like I was barely as important as their oldest pair of raggedy shoes. And so I would have to chase these dudes down for child support or figure it out myself. But y'all, as a result of all of that, I was strengthened in resilience. I learned to love and let go. And I became empowered to teach life lessons to those 2 amazing human beings that make me happy to be their mom. So I'm excited about, no matter where you come from, the seeds that are within you, when I talked about a viable seed, I went through some things that were not great, but man, did I learn from those things. And I've had the power to impact my children, and prayerfully, as we finish up tonight, there will be some things that empower you too. Let's go on to A Tale of Two Dads. We got about 7 to 10 good minutes between the 2 of them. Go for it. Who did I put first? I don't remember if it was Leo or Dan. A Tale of Two Dads. Y'all can tell I'm a teacher. Go for it.
I think it was Dan was first.
Dan, you got it? You ready, Dan? Or you want Leo to go? What you got?
It doesn't matter. I'll go first.
Don't take it all the time, Dan. Now say something for me now.
No, I got you. Well, I just look at things, and when it comes down to it, I've learned one thing. As a leader of the house, and as a leader, period, you have to be strong enough to be gentle. And that's the way we have to lead our home. But you were talking about something earlier about giving them attention. I'm also a firm believer, and some people might agree with me or not, but you show them attention, but you have to also let them know that they are not the center of the universe. Because when they leave your house, they'll be in for a rude awakening. And it'll be harder for them they have to learn how to deal with life's lessons that are thrown at them. And that it's not all about them, because too many of these kids have what I call the little orphan Annie syndrome, where they're walking around saying, it's a hard knock life for us. Shake it off and move forward. You show them the attention that they need, but I'm a firm believer of balance. You can't do too much of one thing, but everything you do has to be in truth and in love. And I didn't have no experience, because my dad was murdered when I was 8 months old. I was on my own. My mom got terminally ill when I was 12. So I was in the streets. So I didn't have, I had to stop and look. And I've always been an analytical person, and I analyze everything. I look around, I'm observant. You have to know who you want to be in life in order for you to instill what you want your kids to go and be. And of course, they're going to go on their way. But as long as you show them you love them, you support them, and you teach them how to follow the Lord, which is most importantly, that's what's going to keep them in line. Because, again, we are not the gardener. The Lord is. We could just sit there. We we plant our seeds, but again, they're not ours to plant, because even though they come from us, they're individuals. The same way we come from the Lord, none of us are like the Lord. So I heard a joke a long time ago, and it always makes me laugh, that God he has a sense of humor, and that's why he gave us children, so that we could know what it's like to create something that doesn't listen to us. But we have to make sure that we love them like he loves us.
I love it. Thank you, Dan. Thank you. Leo, go for it.
Man, I'm intimidated. I don't know where to go after Dan right there, man. Especially, man, that was a testimony right there.
Right.
I think about just fatherhood. I'm a father. I have 3 children. I have a father. He's still alive, thank the Lord. And I had grandfathers in my life. They passed. But I just think about how you just said that Proverbs 22:6, train up a child while he's young, when they grow old, he won't depart. So with me just having that base and that foundation of just having a father in my life and having grandfathers and having strong men around me, I think I just have a base. And most definitely, I have the foundation in the Lord, just have a personal relationship with him. And of course, just going to church. But I just look at myself as, I think about Kobe Bryant, where they call him girl dad. So I have 2 girls and a son. But if anything is going on, if it's a parent teacher conference, I think most teachers are used to just seeing the wife or the woman. But what I tell my wife is, where we're both going. I work in the school system. I know some stuff. So it's shocking when they see me. They were like, "Oh, you come too?" Yeah, I want to know what's going on too. Or if there's a baseball game, if there's a track event, if my son is in MMA, I'm there. And then we just have those individual conversations where I pull them aside and just tell them my own life experience. Because when to go back to talking about seed, a lot of people, we see the fruit, but we don't see the root. So what are we rooting our children in? And most definitely, I would think, that'll be God, to the morals and the values of God and his word. But the fruit is good, but you got to be rooted in something. You got to be grounded in something. And before, something I tell my children, we learn in the Army, is called adapt and overcome. Because, I mean, if you're not planning, if you're not rooted, then you're almost as if you'll be double-minded. You'll be swayed back and forth. But if you're rooted and grounded, then no matter what come, hell or high water, but you're grounded. And you can go back to what somebody taught you, or what your parents taught you, what your father taught you. So I just think about that and how the roles of a father, I mean, research shows it just about if a father's not in a life, whether it's marriage or co-parenting, how sometimes it can be counterproductive. I mean, I think about the roles a father can play. Myself, I think about a priest, a prophet, a provider, a protector, a planter, a planner, provision. You provide you provide provision for the vision. So just speaking life into our children and just being there for them. And something I have, like I said, I have 2 girls, so something I tell them: listen, I'm going to be here. I'm going to do what I need to do as a father, be in your life. And when you get married, I'll still be here. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I understand the husband role, but I said I'll still be here. I'll be your father until I leave this earth. You know what I'm saying? So just being that example, and what it looks like in the heavenly realm is what it can look like in the earthly realm. Of just being a father, because the word father in the Greek, it translates over into Abba, and the word Abba means source and sustainer. So God is our source, but everything around us are resources. So we'll just use our resources as men, as fathers, and just be a blessing to our children, because they need us. I'm saying that they need us. So I don't want to go to no man bashing, but I think there are a lot of great fathers out there, and I'm just appreciative that I had men around me and a father in my life, and I have the utmost respect for him. It's not a scary fear, but I have an honor and a reverence unto my father. Like, until this day, I ain't never tried him, never cussed in front of him, never did anything crazy. If I want some insight and wisdom, I can go to him and he can pour into me. So that's what I think, just the importance of fathers in the community, in the house, in the school system, so that people can see godly men in the earth realm.
love it. Thank you, thank you, thank you, dads. Y'all did fantastic. Good job, Leo. Thank you, thank you. That was beautiful, beautiful. Now we're gonna go ahead and bring it on home. Bring it on home.
And
let's start at the
Takesha.
very beginning. We are going to, because we have to we gotta look at this time thing. I got about 10 more good minutes, right? I don't know what you got. What you got, Camille? You got 10 more good minutes, Camille? I'm just joking. Let's start at the very beginning. Camille, come on in the house, girl. Tell us what you got.
All right, so starting at the very beginning, let me be transparent for one moment, because I still have yet to figure out why I was chosen as a parent advocate. How can I help other parents when I struggle on my own as a single mother? Sure, I have an awesome support system, but my support system holds me accountable for my daughter. I don't get to drop her off whenever I want to. I don't get to go wherever I want to, do whatever I want to. There is no right manual on being a parent. So I get it. It's by trial and error. But for some, in the midst of those trials and error, you find the success. So when I was asked to speak about the seeds of success that I plant in my child's life, I was lost. I mean, completely lost. How can I speak about something I have no idea of? My house isn't full of rainbows and unicorns. And then it hit me after some conversations. It doesn't have to be full of rainbows or sunshine or unicorns. I've planted these seeds of success without even realizing it during the sunshine and the rain. So my first seed was just me simply being there, being present, letting her know at a young age that no matter what, her mama's here. My second seed was building a foundation based on faith, introducing her to God and letting her know that no matter what, God is here for us and he answers our prayers and he loves us. And this to me is the most powerful seed I've planted, because regardless of any storm, she takes the time to acknowledge that something is wrong and we need to pray about it or pray for the people who need it. She does it with no hesitation. And this amazes me because she's only 8 years old. I understand that this seed may not be everyone's seed, but it's an important seed to me. My third seed, and this one goes hand in hand with my first one, is explaining to my daughter that education is everything. Reading is knowledge and knowledge is power. When you read, you learn, and with a great education, you can move mountains. The reason why I say this seed pairs greatly with the seed of being present is because you have to be present during their education. And I'm not just talking about school. Education starts at home. What are you teaching them? Do they have chores? Are you having them read to you, or are you reading to them? Are you taking them outside to play, or do y'all go on walks and point out different things in nature that are interesting? Are you explaining to them your expectations that you have for them at the current state that they're in? I'm not saying for all of us to mimic the Huxtables or the Winslows or even the Banks from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. But at some point, we have to simply be present to let our children know that they aren't a problem, a pain in our side. They have to know that they are our everything. And I quote that word because, of course, they're not our everything, because we have lives, but most of our lives should be with them. And this is shown in the very beginning, in the moment when they first take their first breaths, make their first sound, their first words, their first walk. Being present in the very beginning, not putting it on someone else. Yes, there are going to be moments when you say enough is enough. There are going to be moments when you question or say, what am I doing wrong? I've been there and I'm there now. But I think back to the fact that my daughter knows right from wrong. She knows how to behave in public. She has manners. She knows the expectations of school. And in those moments when we bump heads, I have to take a step back and I wonder why, what's going on. And those moments don't last long because I'm present and I didn't just push her off onto somebody else, because she knows my expectations and she knows I love her with every breath in my body, and we restart and we start from the beginning.
Why is it that you can never find the unmute button when you want it, right? My goodness, thank you, Camille, for sharing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You. You did such a good job. So in case you all just didn't see it, we went from the oldest to the youngest children. And that was intentional. We wanted to be able to help you all to see it from all perspectives. Everybody's family is not exactly the same, but we all have the same intention. We all want our children to be successful. The way we approach it is similar, but not the same. Kind of like what Dan was saying earlier. There's similarities in the way that you approach this thing. It doesn't have to look the same in your house. The expectation, though, is that it happens, and it happens intentionally so that you can ensure the success of your children. Before we leave tonight, I have 86 several things because I do want to honor your time. Don't worry, you'll see more videos. I'll share them as we go forward. But before we go tonight, I want to leave you all with this. Thank you so much for coming. And this is for parents, caregivers, and educators. The parent advocates of Education Inside Out want to encourage you to encourage your children. We want you to encourage and to praise them. We want you to encourage and praise the success of your children and to create a more constructive learning environment, okay? We want you to be sure that there, like he said earlier, that there is balance. Kids are like AI, y'all. They gather the provided information and then they give you back what you always say, right? And then if you only celebrate the small successes, then they will figure out that that's good enough for you to celebrate them. I mean, why do more, right? They also need to establish internal celebrations when they are pleased. Even when you say nothing, consider trying to implement the give, withhold, give, withhold, withhold, give, withhold, 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 and so on and so forth. This will help you to help your children to have that internal celebration for themselves, okay? You also want to be sure to plant the consequences for unfulfilled expectations. Again, balance. They can handle it. They can take it if you make it happen, because if you don't, then when life gives them consequences, guess what? Neither of you will be able to handle it. And I'm sure that that's not what you want for your life or for the lives of your children. So in closing, I want to thank you all for joining us. And please, we'll talk more about our virtual program. You'll watch for more videos on YouTube and on other social media platforms. Well, I'll share with you about all that we have to offer you here at Education Inside Out. There is a donate button on our webpage. If there's somebody who you know who would benefit from what we do here at Education Inside Out, please send them to eduinsideout.org. And I want to, again, thank you all so much for joining us. Look here, there's a whole slide with so much more information on it, but I'm not going back to it right now. You all will see it in the very near future. Thank you again so much for joining us. Tell your friends and relatives that this video will be available for them on YouTube very soon. And you all have a wonderful night, being sure to plant and seed success in your children so that the world that we live in can continue to flourish and grow. You all have a great night. Do you have any questions? Anybody have a question or anything? No? Yes? No? Good. Oh, what you got, Corinne? What you got?
I just want to end with this real quick. I think my goal as a parent for my kids, and I think when you go through stuff in life as you're younger, I didn't grow up in my house at the age of 15. I left my house. So I took the streets, and so my whole goal right now is breaking the cycle. And I just want to leave that with you all. Break the cycle. Look back at things that, or let's just say seeds that were planted that should have never been planted, and break that cycle. And that's all I want to leave with you tonight. God bless you all.
I love it. I love it. Thank you. Thank you.
And
Yeah.
I was just gonna say one thing that when Leo was speaking too is that we also have to learn that just like with our Heavenly Father, you know, everybody sings, you know, I am a friend of God, but he's also our Father first. So we have to be a parent first and then a friend second.
Right. I love it. Absolutely. 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 And with that, we're going to leave on that note. I believe the children are our future, and we need to teach them well and let them lead the way. We need to show them all the beauty that they possess inside and give them a sense of pride to make it easier, right? For them and for us. So again, I bid you good night, and I look forward to seeing you all next third Thursday. May, y'all. Looking forward to talking to y'all again. Third Thursday in May. Y'all have a great night, and we'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.